I am happy to announce that we just set up a podcast studio here in Georgetown, Texas, my home city. And we're going to be talking about the program, the standard, but most importantly, we're going to be getting more into depth of who I am, who Troy Loehr is, what my journey has been living in California for 35 years and coming out to Georgetown, Texas just 4 years ago. So the standard has been 9 years in the making. 9 years ago, I decided to put down the alcohol for good. What I called it was I was drawing a hard line in the cement that day, not in the sand because the sand can move. And from that day, my focus was just doing it one day at a time. I remember prior to that day, I had thoughts, I had passion and drive to stop drinking, but the anxiety was really kicking in, thinking about the future, thinking about weddings that I had to attend, birthday parties, events with my wife, work events, what have you. But on May 22nd of 2017, when I drew that hard line in the cement, I focused on just one day at a time. And I've taken it just one day at a time ever since, and this is where it's gotten to me. So that's when the standard first started 9 years ago. 4 years ago, I was facing a very deep Adderall and Xanax addiction. I got myself up to about 120 milligrams of Adderall per day, chasing that with Xanax to take the edge off, try to get me to go to sleep at the late hours that I was up. And that almost cost me my life, if I'm being honest. If it wasn't for God and my wife being strong enough to stand up to me and saying, Troy, you're going to fucking kill yourself. I need you to stop. I would have been dead. And I always say this, if I didn't move from California to Texas, I would have died, because when I was in California, I was so caught up in this perpetual cycle of doing more, achieving more, making more. My self-image of who I wasn't looking at myself. I was more worried about what other people were thinking. So again, by the grace of God, I moved out here to Georgetown, Texas, and I can say without any uncertainty in my mind or in my heart that it absolutely saved my life. That, obviously coupled with God and my wife helping me out that day, giving me that push, that motivation, and also me allowing myself to trust my wife, which is a very big factor that I talk about within the standard, is, we all get married, we all fall in love, and it seems to just fizzle out very quickly, the love, the trust. But for me, I've been married successfully now for 10 years, and the trust factor is big. I trust my wife, just like when she said I needed to make a change with the alcohol. I trusted her when she said, I need you to make the change with the Adderall, you're going to kill yourself. My ego, it could have gotten in the way. The amount of money I was making could have gotten in the way. But again, by the grace of God, it didn't. So that was, I would say, part 2 of setting the standard and getting to me where I am today. So I've spoken many times about how I am 9 years sober from alcohol. But what I need everybody to understand is what led up to that day. What was my mindset, how I was raised, and how alcohol just became a total social norm. It started when I was, I think, 10 years old. My father worked for a very big liquor company called Seagram's. And ever since I could remember, there was Seagram's bottles, there was wine coolers, beers, just about throughout my entire house. Also at every single party that I saw my parents at. So from a young age, I guess I had it in my mind that this was the way to have fun. This was the way to relax. I would see older people, they would have a drink when they get home from work, sip on a scotch when they're having a cigar. Again, to me as a kid, it was portrayed or is viewed as a way to relax. But the funny thing is with addiction is I can sit here and I can try to blame it on other people, other outside noise. But where that addiction came from was truly within my own heart and in my own mind. I was trying to mask certain things in my life that I guess I just wasn't ready to hit head on. Whether it be childhood trauma, whether it be the fact that I didn't choose to go and play baseball at a full ride scholarship. I chose to work instead. At 17, 18 years old, I threw myself into the workforce, and I immediately had to become an adult like that. And I would say that the alcohol started picking up even more then, because I'm now in an environment with adults, 21 to 50, 60 years old. And that's what they did. They partied, they drank, they did drugs. And again, I was trying to fit in, but at the same time, the biggest component of all this was me trying to mask who I was, who I thought I was, who everybody else thought I was. I had this identity from a very early age that Troy is the ambitious one. I got the Mr. Hustle Award in basketball. I was always business driven, money driven. So again, I had this identity as Troy Loehr, the businessman, the deal maker, the guy that always going to make it happen. He's going to build businesses. He's going to build them, make them bigger, and never stop. And that pressure got to me massively. And what I found myself doing, as sick as it sounds, was I was waking up and I couldn't bear the thought of the day. Mind you, at this time I have a wife, and at this time my son is 6 months old. And I'm still waking up in the morning not facing the hangover that I had caused from the night before, but again, masking it. Putting liquor down my throat first thing in the morning because that was the only way I can get rid of a headache or a hangover. And that's one thing I need everybody to understand is your typical alcoholic doesn't drink every single day. Your typical alcoholic is functioning. Your typical alcoholic can get through his days with his job. I think there's a big notion around what an alcoholic looks like. Again, a lot of alcoholics, they don't drink daily. But for me, the occasional drink led to an every single day thing. And that's what I need everybody to understand that's watching this is right now it might seem like fun and games. Right now it might seem like, you know what, I only drink Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But again, there's something within alcohol. It's a chemical that the minute that it hits your brain, it starts to trick you. It starts to trick you from that first drink. You know, I did a video about this the other day where I said, how many drinks did it used to take me to get drunk? And it was just one. Because that first drink was the gateway. It was the floodgate that opened up to the 20th drink. That's usually where I would get to before I passed out. So again, if you're watching this and alcohol is a pain point in your life right now, the best suggestion that I can offer you right now is don't wait. Don't wait for it to get worse. Don't wait for that second or that third DUI. Don't wait for that next blowout with your wife. You are in 100% control of that bottle. You know, let me take you back to the first day that I stopped drinking. I had it in my mind, and I think I heard it from an old AA adage that we need to become more powerful. Or I'm sorry, let me back up. We are powerless over alcohol, is what they say. And for me, that first day that I stopped drinking, I had it in my mind where I said, you know what? I need to become more powerful than that bottle that's sitting on my shelf. And prior to that last day of me drinking, my first day not drinking, should I say, I would drink all the way through Sunday night, and then I would throw everything out, promising myself I'm not going to drink on that Monday. But on May 22nd, when I woke up in the morning, I made one decision, one sharp, decisive decision. And it was that I'm going to become more powerful than any bottle of liquor sitting in my cabinet. And I left it all up there. And what I had to sort of retrain my brain and the thinking ways that I had was that bottle's not going to jump down and land in my throat. I have to physically go reach for that bottle, open it up, and put it down my throat. So a big component of the standard in the program and helping somebody through these just sick and vicious cycles of drinking is giving you the right tools, the right mindset, and equipping you with the right things that will allow you to have that mindset of is I am more powerful than any alcohol. I am more powerful than any drug, any pill. That's the mindset that's going to take you from day one to 9 years to 20 years, and hopefully for the rest of your life. And that is, again, it's a strong mindset to have. You know, one thing about me when I stopped drinking was I didn't stop going to bars. I didn't stop going to parties. I went to bachelor parties. I went to weddings. And what I found, I had more fun than I ever did. And I can tell you the anxiety leading up to those parties before I decided to stop drinking, again, it was, how am I going to have fun? What are my friends going to think? You know, again, all this stuff was made up in my mind. I remember the first bachelor party that I went to, one of my good friends, Kevin. The amount of respect that I received from my friends at that party was probably the most respect that I've received or that I've allowed myself to receive and feel in a long time. I felt in control. I felt healthy. I felt operable. I was able to drive people around. And at the end of the day, I was able to lay my head down on that pillow knowing I'm going to remember everything that day, that night. I'm going to wake up in the morning clear-headed with a clear conscience, not having to ask what happened, not having to offer any apologies. Again, just waking up with a different mindset of proving to myself yet again that I'm able to have fun without liquor or any substances in my body. So again, if you're watching these videos right now, it is a very normal thought to have of, am I going to have fun? What am I going to do when I go to a work function? I was just on with somebody the other day, and the guy picked up a new line of work and he started going to trade shows. And I know trade shows very, very well. And for the first probably 4 years of my career, I was at trade shows. Unfortunately, it was before I stopped drinking. But I remember being at these trade shows, and they offer liquor first thing in the morning, and they offer it all the way up until you probably pass out. And I was drinking throughout all those hours because that's what everybody else was doing. Fast forward, I believe it was 2 months after I had stopped drinking, and I decided to go to a trade show. Again, I had some normal fears in my mind of what's everybody going to think? What are they going to say if I told them I had a problem? But I never said I had a problem with alcohol. I would actually kind of fib sometimes, and I would say, I'm not drinking tonight, I'm not drinking today. Or I'd throw this at the person. I would say, listen, they don't have enough alcohol in here for me to drink. So I sort of made it a game. But back to talking to this gentleman. This guy just started a brand new career. He hit the ground running. He's spending many days and weeks out on the road, going to trade shows, these business corporate meetings and all this. And when he called me, he said, listen, I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired of being hungover. I want to stop drinking. And immediately, I can put myself in his shoes because I've been there. I know exactly what he's going through. And I'm happy to have him come on board. He came on board last week. And again, with him, I'm going to be teaching him the tools. I'm going to be sharing the experiences and equipping him with the tools and the knowledge that he needs to continue his line of work. And obviously to continue being a husband and being a father. That of which I think is going to get exponentially better with every single day that goes by that he doesn't drink.